Yo, what up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Imperfect Action Show. As you know, it's Friday. Today's episode 60, so that means we are over 50% of the way there to episode 100. And not that something's going to happen at episode 100, but you never know. Something may happen at episode 100. So, anyway, at the Imperfect Action Show, what do? We connect with six, seven, eight-figure earners, high-level thinkers, and we bring we bust down marketing business principles, strategies, lessons, and we bring you this information in real time, so then you can take this information and apply it in real time to your situation. So what we're going to do right now is the same thing I do every single time. Is I'm going to hit the community up, let them know that we are live, and then when they go in. We got a really good guest today. And she wants to talk about how you buy businesses online. But this is the thing. You know what we do? If for some reason the guest is late or whatever the case may be, I'm still gonna give you guys tons of value. Actually, here she is right now. Yeah, let's get down to it. Hey, what's up?
Hey,
How
good
are you?
morning.
What's going on? You
I'm
look
doing
you
very
look
well.
fantastic, by the way.
Thank you.
You
I
look
appreciate
fantastic.
that. You're not looking too bad yourself,
Hey,
sir.
listen, I'm in true form right now. I got the hat, got the hoodie. This is my style. This is my comfort zone. We here. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you. It's Friday also,
It's
so
Friday, so
we made it.
we definitely did. So first off, I was just letting the community know that I was about. I normally always send a text to the community, let them know that we're live. So I'm about to do that. But before I do that, I'll just pre-frame the situation. So I have an amazing guest. I seen this guest through an ad, and I was taking perfect action. And I reach out, hey, what's going on? My name is Brendan. I think what you're doing is amazing, and it struck me because I'm like, yo, this is a really dope strategy. You can literally find pre-existing businesses, see what their numbers are, get them for actually a decent price, learn what the business already got going on, and it's actually moving, bringing in some revenue, and then you could just own that, and then you could start running it. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. So I had to bring Miss and correct me if I'm wrong, Kenna Carver. Is that how you
Kenna
pronounce it?
Craver.
I
Almost.
had to
Kenna
bring Miss
Craver.
Kenna Craver on this show to talk about how you buy businesses online. Why is this a strategy that people should think about, consider about, and maybe implement? And while you tell them who you are, I'm gonna email the community. I'm gonna text the community.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here and talk about one of my favorite topics, which is business acquisitions. So, a quick intro. My name is Kenna Craver. I am an investor that acquires existing online businesses, and I also teach other people how to acquire existing online businesses. And just like Brendan just mentioned, it's basically a way that you can skip the struggle, skip the startup struggle, is what I like to say,
Woo.
because what most people do not, I guess what we don't hear about enough when we talk about entrepreneurship is the failure rate. Most people that start businesses are not successful. And that's not anything negative against them because maybe they're working hard, maybe they have the motivation and the drive and the discipline. But the reality is, building something from the ground up is really difficult. It's very challenging. And if you want to be a business owner, but you want to skip that struggle of building something from the ground up, buying an existing business is a great path to take, and I want more people to take it. I think the only reason why we don't is because we're not aware of it, and so that's why I'm here.
100%. I would actually want to double down on that. We are not aware. Even if you're a successful entrepreneur and maybe you got the money coming in, you're not really thinking about things are rolling pretty well. You can start diversifying that, some of that money coming in and invest to create other incomes and other streams. Obviously I got a couple questions, and the community is probably going to ask some questions because this is an amazing topic. We had somebody come on. Maybe do you know who Bees is? Business building Bees.
Bees? No.
So
Business
so he
building bees?
Yeah, business building bees. He's another individual that talks about business acquisitions.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so it's
Nice.
amazing. Yeah, but he talks about, so you talk, and you could correct me if I'm wrong here, but your business acquisition focuses online businesses.
Correct.
Yeah, so his is he does some online, but he also does some like physical businesses too. Um,
Yeah, that's awesome.
but this is an amazing subject because like what had happened was him and I spoke a while ago, and then I saw your ad pop up, and I was like, wait a minute, I think this is what Bees does. So then I followed up with him, and then he ended up coming on the show. And then I'm grateful to have you on the show. But now that you're on, this is like another subject that we're revisiting, which is why people should start taking it more seriously. So the first thing you mentioned was that the failure rate for entrepreneurs and businesses is from 5 years to 10 years is pretty high, right?
Oh yeah.
Why should a new entrepreneur look to acquire a brand new business as a way to, like you said, skip the struggle, which I think is an amazing way to frame it? Why should this be a way, a area that they should look into as opposed to just starting from scratch?
There's a few reasons. So, if you're a brand new business owner, as I mentioned, unless you just really love building something from the ground up and you really want to put your stamp on it, and you enjoy the process of building something with no immediate reward, right? Because it does take a while before you can actually get a business to where it's profitable and where you can actually sustain it. So, if that's where you are, you can skip that struggle. If that's let me rephrase that. If you want to be a business owner, but you don't want to build something from the ground up and you want the money on day one, then you should consider buying an existing business. And that's
Want
that's
the
the
money
main
on day?
benefit. That is
Want
the
the
main
money on day
benefit.
one?
Yeah. Yeah. I love to start there because that usually gets people interested when I say, yeah, you can get money on day one.
I'm
Right.
listening.
Ears perked
I'm
up.
listening.
Right.
I'm listening
Um,
for sure.
Yeah, so that's one main benefit because when you buy an existing business, everything is already set up for you and the business is already producing income. It already is generating revenue. So when you buy that business, once it's transferred over to you, now that revenue is coming to your bank account. And you didn't have to build anything from the ground up. You just had to buy something that already existed. So that's
How
one.
easy is that?
How easy is buying a
It's
business?
like, yeah, locating a pre-existing online business and then like um going through, I assume there's like, some steps as for what you should be looking for, like what makes sense and things like that. So like and I also want to touch base with you on that, but how easy or what is the process?
So I like to say it's simple, but it's not easy,
Yeah, I
right?
like
It is absolutely a process, and you want to make sure you do it right because at the end of the day, it is an investment. So just like you wouldn't just go buy a house, say you wanted to start investing in real estate, you wouldn't just find the first house you found and then just buy it and not do any kind of due diligence or anything. You definitely have to go through the process of locating that business. And there's a few different ways that you can find a business for sale. One of the top two ways are online marketplaces, which is similar to how you would go on like a Zillow or a Trulia and look for houses that are for sale. You can actually go to these kind of websites, these online marketplaces, and find online businesses that are listed for sale. So that's one way. And then another way is to actually go through a business broker. And there are many brokers similar to real estate brokers that actually represent sellers of businesses. So a seller, when they're ready to sell their business, they'll call a broker, and then the broker is responsible for going out and finding buyers. So it's fairly actually simple to find a business for sale, and the process it's pretty straightforward, but there are nuances. Of course, you need to know what to look for and how to evaluate that business,
hmm
right? You need to go through some type of due diligence because what you want to make sure is that the business is going to continue to be successful under your ownership, right? So you don't want to buy a business and then when you buy it, it stops making money, right? So you want to do your due diligence to make sure you're buying an actual stable, viable, profitable business. And so from that point, going to just transferring the business and the assets included, that part is pretty straightforward as well. And so, like I said, it's simple, but it's not easy.
So you know how like let's say you and I were going to buy a used car, right? Let's say we was going to buy a
Hmm.
used car, and we don't really know too much about the used car. So we may check out the Carfax or whatever. We may go and maybe bring a mechanic friend or something. Hey, come along with us. We're gonna check out the used car. So using that analogy, if someone's looking to look for this used business or this pre-existing business, who is this individual they're bringing with them? Is that the broker or who can be on their side when it comes to evaluating the business to make sure it's a good fit for them?
Well, of course, me, right? Let's start
Ah, there
there.
you go. There
That's
you
what
go.
I do.
There you go.
I actually do work with clients one on one and actually assist them and guide them through this process. I've actually successfully coached clients to buy businesses. But if you did not want to have a like an advisor or a coach or whatever, you can actually get a broker to actually work for you.
Mm,
So there's brokers that represent sellers, there's also brokers that represent buyers. So you can contact a broker and say, "This is the type of business I'm looking for. This is the size business that I'm looking for, and this is what I want." And then that broker will go out and find that business for you. And then, of course, you're just going to pay them a percentage, like a real estate broker. You're going to pay them a commission for finding a business for you. So, in addition to that, you can also just build what's called a deal team. So your deal team is, your attorney, your accountant, and these are just people that are going to support you through the process to actually help you, do due diligence and actually acquire the business. So there's a few different ways. There's advisors like myself. You can find a broker, or you can just build your own team and go that route.
So, what are some things that like would be red flags to avoid when searching for a business to acquire? Is there any like one, two, maybe three things that are like blatant, like yo, stay away? This is like a flag. This is a huge indicator that you shouldn't even consider this business. Is there anything like that?
For sure. So when you're evaluating a business, let's start with the money because this is why we're doing this, right? You definitely want to look at the financials and make sure that that business has a history of profitability. So you want to make sure that this business has been making money long before you found it, long before you saw it and wanted to buy it, right? So you're going to start with the numbers. So that would be a red flag if you saw maybe revenue that's going up and down. It's kind of all over the place. One month it's making money, and then the next month it's losing money. So you want to look at the revenue trends and just make sure that it has a history of consistent profitability. Another thing is maybe finding businesses that are have only been in operating or have only been operating for a limited amount of time. So maybe like a year or less. Those businesses are a little bit more risky. I'm not saying they're terrible, but they're a little bit more risky because it doesn't have that history of profitability that I just mentioned,
Yeah.
right? So you don't really know. Okay, it's been doing okay for the first year, but how do I know that next year is going to be good, and then the year after that? If you're pretty, if you have a pretty good business acumen, and you know that you can look at a business and be able to tell like what you can improve on and how to grow it, then you might be interested in a business that's only been operating for a year because you can come in there and
Yeah.
make it more efficient and increase the revenue and things like that.
Hmm.
So those are two main red flags that I would look for. You want to make sure it's consistently profitable and has a history of being profitable, and you want a business that's been operating for a little while so that you know that it has a good potential to continue to be successful.
So I just wanted to reset real quick. If anyone's just coming on, or if you just missed anything that we are touching on, we're on with Kenneth Craver right now. I said it right? Yep, yep.
Yes.
Kenneth
Yep.
Craver. We're talking
You
about
did.
purchasing existing online businesses and how this can be a route for a starter entrepreneur or entrepreneur looking, or maybe even a 9 to 5er looking to add an additional revenue stream to your situation. So whatever questions you have about this process, please drop them in the chat. And it looks like we got a question right now. This one's coming from Deanna. She's asking, how do you know what buying offer to make? Like how much?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, if you're looking on online marketplaces that are listing these businesses for sale, they're going to have a listing price most of the time. So the seller will actually say, "I want this much for this business." That could be $5,000, $10,000, or 50,000, whatever. So they'll have a starting price, but I like to say everything is negotiable, right?
Yep.
So if they don't have a price, sometimes they'll actually some of these marketplaces will actually have an auction where the seller can list their business for sale and they won't list a price at all, and you can just bid on it. So like similar to eBay, right? You could just go on there and bid on it, and then whoever gets the highest bid wins. So other than that, so say there is no price listing, maybe you just found this business online and you're just interested in buying it. That's what we would call an off-market deal. So if that's the case, basically the way you would come to determine the value of that business is by looking at the income. So businesses are valued on a multiple of their income. So the more income the business makes, the more it's probably going to cost you to buy it. Now, again, everything is negotiable. So if you found a seller that's really motivated and they're ready to move on, then you could probably work out some type of deal with them where you say, okay, how about I pay you, say they wanted like 50,000 for the business. You could go in there and say, how about I pay you like 25,000 and then pay you the remaining 25,000 over a period of time, similar to a mortgage.
Yep.
Right. So that's basically if there is no listing price, then you can determine the value of the business by understanding how much income it makes.
So how'd you get into this? Because I think this is an amazing niche to get into, and I feel like there's a lot of people that would love this education as a means to what they can actually do, right? Because they may not, like you
Hmm.
said in the beginning, how we started off, people just don't know. So like
Hmm.
starting off, like, hey, you know what? I want to do entrepreneurship. I don't know what business to pick. What is an array of businesses that are already moving and grooving? You just maybe have to select, the right one. So what brought you to this particular industry, which I feel like is a very specific and niche one?
Yeah, so I basically just kind of failed my way into it. I started my career in tech, so I spent like the bulk of my early career working in the tech industry. I used to basically build out software and mobile applications for Fortune 500 companies and startup companies. But like most people, you get to a point where you're ready to move on to something new and you want more freedom and autonomy. And so I decided to leave that corporate environment and just go out on my own, right, and start something for myself. And so I just tried so many different things. Like I tried so many different side hustles. And basically everything that I tried, I had some wins and then I had a few losses, but everything that I tried taught me something that led me to the next thing.
Mm,
And so I ended up deciding that I wanted to be in e-commerce. And so once I started to actually build out e-commerce businesses, when I was trying to basically just learn how to build my business, of course, when you're learning, you're reading books and listening to podcasts and things like that, right? And so I remember I was listening to a podcast, and the guest on the podcast was someone who had been really successful and they had recently sold their e-commerce business. And so the host asked the guest, if you could start over again, what would you do differently? And the guest responded, I wouldn't start over again. I would just buy a business. And so when I heard that, I thought, wait, what do they mean they would just buy a business? Because I had always thought that, I don't have a finance background. Like I said, I come from tech. So the little bit that I did know about finance, I thought that you had to be an investment banker or work for some huge hedge fund or be
yep.
on Wall Street or something like that to be able to buy businesses, right? I thought that was something that was reserved for billionaires. I didn't know that individuals like us could actually buy businesses. And so once I heard that, I literally just started learning everything that I could. Like I just became a sponge and just tried to learn everything that I could. And that's when I knew I was like, this is the path that I want to take. Like now that I know that I don't have to try all these different side hustles and try to build something from the ground up, because my goal was just to be a business owner and have
Yeah.
freedom. I didn't really care. I shouldn't say I didn't care. It didn't really matter to me what kind of business I was going to own. I knew I wanted it to be an e-commerce business, but as
Yeah.
far as just like, I didn't have like this really innovative idea. I didn't have any unique ideas. Like I just knew I wanted to own a business so I could have freedom and generate wealth. And so that's why I knew buying businesses was for me because my goal is just to get the business. I
Yep.
don't need to start it from the ground
Buy, buy
up.
the cash flow. Buy the cash flow.
Exactly. Exactly. So that's how I got into it.
So we got a question. This one's coming from Chandra. She asks, do you have a recommendation for a business type to purchase for first timers?
For first timers, I recommend um, trying to find a business that actually appeals to you and to your interests, right? So you could absolutely just buy for income and just go buy a business that's, it's profitable, it's going to make you money, but you don't care about it. Like, for example, if you want to buy a car wash, you're not like really passionate about car washes, right? Like you're passionate about the money that car wash is making.
I mean, I'll
Um,
take a car wash so I can get free car washes too.
hey,
That's a nice
hey,
bonus on top.
exactly. So if you were a beginner, I would say, hey, if you're trying to figure out how to get all these different benefits for buying a business, you want free car washes. Why not consider a car wash,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah.
So definitely try to consider your interests. And it really depends on how involved you want to be with that business. Like, do you plan to be the operator and where you're in there day to day actually operating this business? Or are you going to be just the person that owns it and you're going to put an operator in place to run it for you? So you need to consider things like that. But as far as just like what kind specifically, um, a couple of key things that you want to look for, like I said, going back to that profitability, you want to make sure you're in a market that's going to be profitable, right? So you're not going to be in a shrinking market. And two, you want to um, like I said, it matters your interest, but at the same time, you really just you care about the money. But a really good business to buy would be one that has repeat customers. So
Mm.
try to find a business that you're not going to constantly have to be looking for new customers to come in. It's best to buy businesses that has repeat customers, like people who have to keep coming back. So like a car wash would be a good example, because people have to keep coming back to get their car washed. You know what I mean? So those are just a couple of key traits that you can look for. But I usually try to say for beginners, try to find something that you're at least a little bit interested in, unless you're going to hire somebody and put them in place and you're just going to be the owner and write the checks.
So Chandra has another follow up question. She says, what kind of e-commerce businesses do you have, and have you tried Amazon FBA?
So I actually love the beauty industry, and really anything that caters to women, because women, we're going to do everything we can to look good. And so that's always a good business. And so those are the businesses that I own. I own beauty and cosmetics businesses. I own a shapewear business. So I basically just like to serve women. Those are really always really good businesses. And the second question was, what was the second
Do
part
you,
of her question?
yeah, have you tried Amazon FBA?
I have not tried Amazon FBA, but there are tons of Amazon FBA businesses available for sale. There are a lot of them, and really good ones too. So I personally have not tried Amazon. It's not that I'm against it or anything. It's just not something that I've tried yet.
Yeah, for sure. So when do you think someone should consider purchasing an existing business? So, I mean, you touched on like starter entrepreneurs, right? Which I feel like is good. But let's say the individual that's kind of doing pretty well in business, he's looking for other investments. Would you say this is a great way to diversify some of the money that is coming in as another way to get cash flow, like this strategy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. If you have business experience already and you already own successful businesses, one of the best ways to grow is via acquisition.
Mm,
You can increase your marketing, you can try to expand, like hiring new people and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff is great, but you can only get so far trying to grow your business organically. At some point, you need to just start buying your competitors, just start buying other businesses. And a lot of people reach out to me actually that currently own successful businesses, and they're like, I want to grow, but it's taking a long time. And I'm like, well, then you need to start buying some of your competitors, buy their customers and buy their income. That's like the quickest way that you can expand or increase your bottom line is by buying another business. So definitely, if you already have experience, then buying another business would be a great way to grow your business and just diversify your portfolio, like you said.
What's the most creative way that you purchased or that you acquired a business? I mean, obviously, you can go on a site like you said, go through everything, figure out which one makes the most sense, checks the most boxes, and then make that acquisition. But has it been like one acquisition that has been like super creative, or that you had to kind of get fancy to acquire, or has everything been pretty much straight up?
For me, it's been pretty much straight up. That's not to say that I wouldn't get creative. I'm actually learning to be a little bit more creative now.
Yeah.
And definitely, though, if you're just getting started and maybe you don't have a lot of capital, you can try to find investors that you can partner up with to where they can help you get the capital, and then you guys buy the business and maybe do like say you found one investor, you could do like a 50-50 profit share, or just pay them dividends. So that's one way that you can get into a business if you don't have capital. Another way is if you have a really good relationship with the seller of the business, and they're really motivated to move on, because a lot of businesses, especially brick and mortar businesses, mostly are owned by baby boomers. And we're in the middle of what's called like the great wealth transfer, because a lot of baby boomers are retiring and they're ready to get out of their businesses. But Some of them don't have people to pass the business on to. They don't have any kind of succession plan.
Mm.
Or maybe they do have people to pass it on to, but they don't, like, the kids don't want the business. They don't want the family business, right? So these people need to figure out a way to get out of their business, or otherwise they're just gonna have to shut it down. So if you can find a business like that where the seller is really motivated, then maybe you could go in and do what's called sweat equity. So you go in and you're like, hey, I can help you run this business and grow it, and you don't pay me anything. But when it's ready, when you're ready to exit, you can just pass it over to me, and then maybe work out some kind of deal where you just continue to pay them a salary or some type of dividend or something like that to get into the business. So there's definitely a few ways that you can get creative.
So what about? I mean, the way when you excuse me, as you was explaining that, a thought that popped in my head is, could you purchase these businesses? Like, could you use your credit card to purchase some of these businesses?
Absolutely. Yeah, you can use credit for sure. And some people, it depends on who you ask. I personally think using credit, like business credit or even personal credit, because is a good idea because you're using that credit to buy a cash flowing asset. You're not using it to buy something that's just going to sit in your closet and not do anything or earn you any income, right? So you can absolutely use credit to buy a business and then use the income from that business to pay off the credit.
So literally, no money down. You can use your pre-existing credit
Mic
card.
drop. Yeah.
This
Yeah.
podcast is over. It's a wrap. Like, just use your credit card. You can use
Just
your
use your credit
pre-existing
card.
credit card that you have. Use a strategy that you can teach them, so you can. They got the credit cards already. They just found out who you are. You got a strategy that I think is amazing. You will hold their hand or give them the resources that they need to then purchase the business with the credit, so they don't have to pay cash, and they're buying cash flow, a cash flowing asset that can then go back and pay off the credit card that they use to buy the business, and then just keep
Absolutely.
having that cash rolling.
And then everything after that is pure profit.
What?
It's the cheat code. That's why I
What?
call it. That's why I call it the cheat code. It's
So we
literally the
got
cheat
another
code.
question below. Chandra's asking, where do you find these existing businesses?
So like I said, there's a few ways that you can buy businesses or find businesses for sale, and one of the main ways is through online marketplaces. So depending on what kind of business that you're looking for, I like to buy online businesses, and so like there's online marketplaces like Flippa.com, there's exchangemarketplace.com. And if you want to buy like a brick and mortar business, you could start with Biz by Sell. That's like the top marketplace that sells online businesses, no matter where. I mean, I'm sorry, that sells any kind of business, online and offline. No matter where you're located, you can find a business for sale in your city, and that's a huge marketplace. So, other than that, if you want to actually work with a broker, it's simple as like going on Google and typing business broker in whatever city that you live in, and you're gonna find some brokers. So, there's a few different ways.
So what do you feel like would be a pro and con working with a business broker as opposed to you working without one to acquire?
So a pro is if you get a really good business broker because they're not all made equal. If you get a really good one, they're really good about managing the seller's expectations, because sellers they've never sold their business before, right? They're new to this, and so sometimes it can be all over the place and not really know like what they're doing and what information they're going to need and how they're going to be able to transfer it over to you. So it can get kind of messy. And so the really good business brokers are good about helping them get everything organized and get prepared to transfer over. And then they can also manage expectations around pricing because sellers might want, I want $1 million for my business, even though it only makes $50,000 a year in income, right? And so a broker can go in there and say, that's not really, I mean, you're not going to sell it. Nobody's going to buy that. So they can actually help them and get them to a more reasonable price. And I would just say one con about working with a broker is that they are the middleman, right? So sometimes they can get in the way.
Yeah.
So just like I said, everything is negotiable. It's really good if you can have a direct relationship with the seller because then you can just find out like what is it that you want? Like, are you just really ready to move on? But you're not really huge on like you don't really care to get like some big check. You're good with getting money over time. Like you can start to build a relationship and build a rapport with the seller to be able to negotiate better. But sometimes when you're working with brokers, they're just like, no, this is the price. If you don't have that, then you can't buy this business because they're thinking about their commission. I mean, it's their
Yeah.
job, right? So that would be
Try
a
and get
pro and
paid.
a con. Exactly. Yeah.
So for you, what is more attractive about acquiring, e-commerce online businesses versus brick and mortar and physical businesses?
The main thing for me is the freedom because with an online business, you can do it from you can operate it from anywhere in the world. All you need is Wi-Fi. So the freedom to be able to work from anywhere in the world, plus the scalability of them, because when you're selling online, your customers can be anywhere in the world.
That's true.
They could be anywhere in the world versus when you own a physical business, you're limited to geography. You're limited to, like the customers within like a 20-mile radius, and that's it. So that's the main appeal to me for buying online businesses over offline. It's not that I wouldn't buy offline, it's just my current focus is online.
So we got one more question, and then I would love it if you let our community know and people that are watching on YouTube how they can connect with you, how they can work with you, and what you currently have available. So this last question for Chandra as well. I mean, she might be somebody that might be looking to buy a business because she got a ton of questions.
Come
Um,
on, Chandra, let's do it.
do you use a lawyer in these transactions?
Yes, you can use a lawyer, but depending on the size of the business, it just may not be. I would say it may not be just beneficial to use a lawyer. So if you're looking to buy a business that's like less than $10,000, I would say you can get really far without an attorney. And something that I actually provide to my clients and the students that I work with is I actually already work with an attorney, so I already have contracts and legal documents that I've already paid for, and I just provide those to everybody that I work with. But if you're looking to buy a larger size business, then I would definitely recommend hiring an attorney to actually help you with due diligence and contracts and making sure everything is good. And so, like I said, larger would be like anything. I really would say like 25,000 or higher. I think you should probably bring in an attorney. And it's really simple. You can find an attorney that works by the hour, and it won't be too expensive for you to bring them in.
And then I guess I got one more question before we bring it on home. What is the length of the process? So if someone's like, Kenna, I'm ready. I got my credit. You and Brendan just said I don't even need money. I'm gonna use my credit card. Like, I'm ready to get going. How long is the process? What's the length of time it would take to actually start the process and then have ownership of that business?
So let's just say you got the business credit or the credit and you're ready to move forward. You got the
Which is
capital.
which is crazy, by the way. I just have to reiterate that you don't need no money, which is wild. But go ahead.
So yeah, instead of using that credit to buy a G wagon, use it to buy a business,
And then buy the G wagon if you
and
still
then buy the
want.
G wagon.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so the process, you got the capital already lined up. It really just depends on what kind of business you're looking to buy, because at that point, it's just a matter of finding the one that's going to be a good fit for you. And
Yeah.
that process, I mean, it can be really quick. Some of the people that I've worked with, they ended up buying a business within 6 weeks. So, like I said, it depends on the kind of business that you're looking for, and if it's going to be online or offline and all that kind of stuff, and how much time you're going to dedicate to the process. That matters too. So if you're only going to like look for a business for like an hour a week, then it's probably going to take a little bit longer, and that's okay. Like you don't want to rush it. But so it could take a matter of a few weeks to, I would say, several weeks to a few months, depending, like I said, on a few variables. Especially if you're looking to buy a larger size business, it may take a little bit longer.
So it really sounds parallel to the process that it would take to purchase real estate. Obviously, not that long, but like some of the steps seem like it's very, very parallel to real estate.
It's very, yeah. I always use the real estate analogy because most people get that, and it's definitely very similar.
So,
Yeah.
Kenna, I want to thank you for stopping by the Imperfect Action Show. This whole episode is high level imperfect action, like literally buying cash flow, using no money down, leveraging your credit to buy the cash flow, using that cash flow to pay off, and then having that existing cash flow, and then you can repeat the steps, and you could do it in 6 weeks.
Absolutely. Yeah,
So
it's
please let
possible.
people know how they can tap in with you, how they can connect with you, how can they get more information about going through this process and working with you directly.
Definitely. So again, thank you for having me. And the best way to get in touch with me is on social media via Instagram. I answer DMs all day long, and I have my at here on the screen. But if you can't see it, it's at KENNACRAVER. That's Kenna Craver. So tap in with me there. I usually host free classes, and I have another one coming up next week. So you can tap into me there. And yeah, that's it. That's the best way to find me.
So I'm gonna drop the link to our free class in the caption so you guys can tap into that. You do not want to miss that information. Literally, she just said it's free, and you can use your credit to buy business. So it sounds like a no-brainer to me. 100%. Keep doing what you're doing. Would love to have you back on the Imperfect Action Show in the future. I think what you're doing and how you're helping people is next level. Teaching them, sharing the information and teaching them strategies and techniques that they do not know that exists. You know what I mean? So, thank you again. And guys, Monday, episode 61 is getting crazy. We're about to get to 100 episodes in like 8 weeks. Which is wild. Thank you, Instagram, for shadow banning my live during that week. I wouldn't have a whole new show without you.
Wow.
I can thanks
Wow.
again. Anything you need for us on the show, please let us know. You guys make sure that you follow her. I dropped it right there in the chat section. If you have any questions that you did not ask, go right to the DM. She will serve you at the highest level. This has been the Imperfect Action Show, episode 60. We'll see you guys next time.